gonna recreate some Pinterest makeup, and this eye look is speaking to me, so let's get it on our eye. I'm gonna go in with the Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette, and I'm gonna dip into this shade. I am just going to start lightly dusting this in the crease. This is a Morphe M506. It's a nice, tiny little fluffy blending brush, but this is just gonna give us a really nice base to start, and it looks really similar to what she's got going on in her crease. I played around a little bit on this eye of like what the next steps are going to be before I went in and showed you guys so I could get a better idea. I'm going to go into this darker shade right here, and I'm going to map out from this outer corner into the crease and kind of lightly start to create a little bit more of that shape defined. And then we're gonna go in with smaller and smaller brushes as we get darker to define this even more, but you can always go back into your fluffier brush in between steps and just lightly blend everything together with very light pressure if you feel like you're getting harsh lines or edges. And then I'm gonna go into an even tinier brush, this is a little angled brush here, and take this darker shade and go ahead and start mapping out where the black is kind of going to live. I'm doing this with shadow because when I go in with the liner is going to be very, very, very thin, and the shadow can kind of be blended out. So this allows that shading to be around where we put that liner, which is what the inspo pick is showing us. And so then I'm just going back in with this fluffy brush and just really, really, really lightly tapping the edges. And a good trick for this after flicking out the outer corner is to go in with your foundation brush or your concealer brush that you detail work with and just clean up the edges just like that. It's gonna give us a really nice, sharp, defined look. You can see this one's blown out just a little bit more. Going with an even tinier brush here. I'm gonna use this like mid-tone brown and go right above that, and that's gonna help us to blend everything. And then when I feel like things are getting like a little muddy and out of control, I'll go into this lightest shade up here and just redefine that brow bone, blending it into all of these colors. If I feel like it's getting too warm too fast or too high too fast. So that's something I would do over here, is blend that in. It feels like this one is much higher than the other eye, and that's starting to look a little bit better. And you can see that defined line on this eye. I'm gonna go into the darkest shade. Go lower than you want it to be on this outer corner because we get to clean that up with our foundation or concealer brush. So just defining that line even more, and then coming in here and making sure that's nice and clean and very sharp because that's what she's got. Then she does kind of bring these warmer tones down onto the lash line because she does have a winged liner, and that shadow sticks out just above where that winged liner is that she did. Taking the darkest shade and just pulling that down onto right on the lash line just to kind of blend everything and make it cohesive. Liner is going to go over majority of this, so it's okay for it to be a little bit more blown out than what you think you need because that liner is going to cover everything up depending on where you place this. So just getting that really close to the lashes mostly. It does look like whoever did this liner used a gel pot liner, but I am not nearly as skilled with that as I am felt tip. So I'm just gonna use felt tip to make sure everything's nice and crisp. But I think that's why it's such a dark black matte crisp line, but this is kind of giving me that. The hardest part here is how she connects this line to this wing. I can't talk during that. I think we nailed it. Now I'm going to take a little bit of concealer on this foundation brush edge, and I'm going to clean this up so that it is really, really crisp. Not completely even, but you know, sisters not twins over here. Feel like it's okay. It is what it is. She's crisp though. Almost unintentionally skipped a very important part of this, which I feel like is adding this really light shadow to this inner corner, because it's going to give a little bit more contrast to all of the brown that we put on here and make this seem just that much more intentional. Kind of pulling this onto the center of my lid as well, but trying to be very careful that I don't cover up any of the brown or the blending that we have done, but just kind of adding it to the center to create even more contrast within the eye here. And then I think that's gonna, it just makes the look seem a little more complete. Now I'm just adding my lashes back. These are the Kiss lashes in Bare Affair is what they're called. And that is the finished final look. Obviously I had a full face on before I did this. I think this side looks so much better, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, you know? Not everything turns out perfect, but it looks pretty good. I love doing Pinterest inspired makeup looks. If you guys have something pinned on your Pinterest you want recreated, leave a picture in the comments and I will make a video and recreate it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!